Think you know the geography of Ireland? The truth is, the Emerald Isle's land covers just 84,000 square kilometers, while its hidden ocean empire, claimed under international law, stretches nearly 10 times farther. Yet this same country has lost almost all its original forests, and now 1/5 of its land is smothered in ancient bog. The statistics reveal a nation whose size, wealth, and landscape have been completely transformed, for better and for worse. But that's just the beginning. In these 15 fascinating geography facts about Ireland, you'll discover the radical secrets most people never imagine. So, what really lies beneath Ireland's familiar green image? Ireland's true size is almost impossible to grasp from a map. While the island itself covers just 84,000 square kilometers, Ireland claims an ocean territory that's nearly 10 times larger, about 880,000 square kilometers, stretching far into the Atlantic. This vast marine domain didn't appear overnight. Decades of behind-the-scenes work by Irish scientists and civil servants, from the Marine Institute and the Geological Survey, secured these rights under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Their efforts, including painstaking seabed mapping and strategic negotiations at global conferences, redrew Ireland's boundaries far beyond the shoreline. The Infomar program, one of the world's largest seabed surveys, has charted underwater mountains, canyons, and coral reefs that rival anything on land. Thanks to these discoveries, Ireland holds sovereign rights to immense reserves of fish, potential energy resources, and untapped biodiversity, all hidden beneath the waves. In legal and scientific circles, Ireland is recognized not just as a small island, but as a major maritime power. Its true footprint, mostly underwater, and staggeringly bigger than you'd ever guess. Ireland's nickname, the Emerald Isle, hides a dramatic truth. Only about 11% of the country is covered in forest today, and less than 2% of that is native woodland. Centuries ago, dense forests stretched from coast to coast, but relentless clearing for farmland and the demands of shipbuilding stripped the land bare. Oak, birch, and pine were felled in waves to fuel British naval power, leaving behind open fields and scattered groves. Botanists in the 19th century recorded the loss in field journals, noting how fast ancient woodlands vanished from the Irish landscape. Yet where the forests receded, a different landscape took hold. Peat bogs now cover nearly 1/5 of the island, about 21%, making Ireland home to almost 1/10 of the world's blanket bogs. These boglands store the memory of 10,000 years, locking away more carbon than all of Ireland's trees combined. For generations, turf cutters and industrial workers dug the bogs for fuel, while Bord na Móna's machines carved out black fields on an industrial scale. But the story is changing. With commercial peat extraction ending in 2020, restoration teams are now re-wetting drained bogs, turning them from carbon sources back into sinks. The fate of these living wetlands is tied not just to Ireland's climate goals, but to the future of rural communities who once depended on the land's hidden energy. Ireland's coastline is a study in extremes, 7,500 kilometers of twisting, battered edge, more than many countries twice its size. Atlantic storms, some carrying waves higher than a house, have been carving and reshaping this boundary for thousands of years. Every headland, bay, and sea stack tells a story of constant collision between land and ocean. Coastal villages, from Donegal to West Cork, have learned to live with this wild rhythm, building stone walls and harbors that face the full force of winter gales. But the drama doesn't end at the water's edge. Cross the island's heart, and you'll find a landscape that couldn't be more different: the central limestone plains. These flat, fertile fields stretch for miles, built on bedrock that formed 325 million years ago. when Ireland was submerged beneath a warm tropical sea near the equator. Over time, the shells and skeletons of ancient sea creatures settled and compressed into thick layers of limestone, creating a foundation that now supports Ireland's richest pastures and most distinctive karst landscapes. For generations, farmers have worked these stone-studded soils, their lives shaped by the ancient sea that once covered the land. From wind-lashed coasts to the limestone heartland, Ireland's geography is a record of epic forces, each region shaped by water, stone, and time. Ireland's land tells stories written in fire, water, and ancient upheaval. At the northern tip, the Giant's Causeway rises from the sea, a mosaic of 40,000 basalt columns, each one a remnant of volcanic eruptions that occurred 50 to 60 million years ago. When molten lava poured toward the Atlantic, it cooled so abruptly that it fractured into near-perfect hexagons, forming a natural pavement that has fascinated geologists and inspired legends for centuries. The causeway's scientific value was recognized worldwide, earning UNESCO World Heritage status after decades of advocacy and debate led by local campaigners and scientists. Travel southwest, and the cliffs of Moher stand sentinel above the Atlantic, soaring 214 meters high and stretching for 14 kilometers. These cliffs are built from layers of sandstone, silt, and shale, deposits left by a massive river delta between 313 and 326 million years ago, when Ireland lay near the equator. Over eons, these sediments hardened into stone, then were sculpted by relentless waves and wind into sheer faces that now draw visitors from around the globe and serve as dramatic backdrops for film and folklore alike. Rising inland, Carrauntoohil claims the title of Ireland's highest peak at 1,039 meters. This granite giant, part of the McGillicuddy's Reeks Range, was thrust skyward by tectonic collisions hundreds of millions of years ago. Its rugged slopes have tested generations of climbers, and in 1993, a harrowing rescue during a sudden storm reshaped mountain safety in Ireland. In these iconic places, basalt columns, ancient cliffs, and granite heights, the island's geologic drama is carved in stone, waiting for those who seek its story. The Ring of Kerry offers a 179-kilometer journey through Ireland's living geography, looping from wind-swept Atlantic beaches to mountain passes and mossy ruins. Local guides recount how this single road can carry you from sheep-dotted uplands to villages where the Irish language still shapes daily life. Tour buses pause at ancient castles and the rugged headlands where Star Wars film crews once camped, drawn by scenery that looks almost otherworldly. Every bend reveals a new chapter. Bogs reclaimed by restoration teams, stone circles older than recorded history, and harbors once used by smugglers and fishermen alike. Cutting across the island, the River Shannon charts a different kind of passage. At 360 kilometers, it's Ireland's longest river, draining 1/5 of the island and forming 3 major lakes that have shaped settlement and trade for centuries. The Shannon has always divided east from west, its broad waters a line of both connection and distinction in Irish culture. In the 1920s, engineers at Ardnacrusha harnessed its flow for hydroelectric power, sparking fierce debate over tradition, technology, and the fate of riverside communities. Anglers still cast for trout where turbines now churn, and navigation locks guide boats past the old weirs. Northern Ireland's Lough Neagh, at 392 square kilometers, dwarfs every other lake in the British Isles. Its vast surface supplies water to hundreds of thousands and supports a thriving eel fishery, while legends claim it was formed by a giant's careless toss of earth. For locals, it's a source of both livelihood and lore, a place where geography and story are impossible to separate. Ireland sits further north than much of Canada, Yet winters here are 9 degrees Celsius warmer than in Newfoundland. Meteorologists point to the Gulf Stream and North Atlantic Drift, ocean currents that sweep warmth from the tropics, keeping Irish harbors ice-free even when snow buries cities on the same latitude. This mildness shapes everything, from the year-round green fields to the rhythms of farming and fishing. Along the coast, 565 kilometers of tidal flats stretch across bays and estuaries, forming a living bridge for migratory birds. Ornithologists track thousands of waders and wildfowl each year as they pause on Ireland's mudflats, halfway between Africa and the Arctic, following the Atlantic Flyway. Inland, the land divides into 4 ancient provinces: Leinster's rolling plains, Munster's river valleys, Connaught's bogs and lakes, Ulster's rugged hills. Each province guards its own sporting colors, dialects, and legends, shaped by boundaries as old as the hills themselves. And to the west, the island faces 3,200 kilometers of open ocean, Europe's last outpost before the Americas. For generations, this edge has been both a meteorological front line and a final farewell, as emigrants watched the Irish coast vanish into Atlantic mist. Here, geography is not just backdrop, but the stage for every story Ireland tells the world. Ireland's true scale is revealed not just by its 84,000 square kilometers of land, but by its vast 880,000 square kilometer maritime territory, an ocean domain 10 times larger, mapped through decades of scientific collaboration and legal negotiation. Over centuries, decisions like mass deforestation for shipbuilding and the draining of boglands have permanently altered the landscape, leaving just 2% of native forests and making peatlands a crucial part of Ireland's carbon story. Geological evidence from the basalt columns of the Giant's Causeway to the ancient limestone plains shows transformations spanning hundreds of millions of years. While the precise impact of climate change on these environments is still being monitored, the combination of mild winters, diverse habitats, and a coastline shaped by relentless Atlantic storms continues to define the island's identity. Each fact is supported by government records, scientific surveys, and historical documents. Yet questions remain about how Ireland will balance conservation with development in the decades ahead. What endures is the evidence. Ireland's geography is both ancient and dynamic, shaped by natural forces and human choices.